Radio in motion program loading in 3, 2, 1. Program activated.
Attention everyone, the unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Okay, first things first, what is your name?
This is Big Sonny playing the best of the 90s and beyond.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Radio in motion.
Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
All right, here we go.
Radio in motion.
All right, thanks for joining me tonight on Radio in Motion's 90s Rocks. All right, but first up, we're going to have a chat about a movie that I knew it was going to do well. At least I was hoping it would. And I think I knew it was going to do well just based on the character and the legacy of this character, not just the movies, but comic books and just a fantastic lore and a great following of the fan base. And of course, I'm talking about Spider-Man and the movie that's out now, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, if you're a normie or a super fan or even casual fan or you're into the comics or you only know the movies, look, I'm going to try to keep it spoiler free because I think it's still early days. I think there's a lot of people who are still waiting to see it. And I think for those that, like myself, I think I'd like to see it a second time because sometimes, you probably are influenced by hearing so much hype about it. And, I'm someone that reviews movies, and a lot of people do that. But like I always say before I have a rant about anything is to make up your own decision, make up your own mind. I'm not here to deter you. I would never do any review, even if I didn't like it, where I said, you know what, don't waste your money. That's just not what I do. Of course, I give my opinion. We're all allowed to have one. Like I say, movies are like a piece of art. Like anything, it's created by so many people who put their heart and soul into it, but like anything, it can be judged. It's put out on display, and it is something that you actually have to pay for, so it's also a product, and you are allowed to have your opinion about products and choose the ones you like. But that doesn't necessarily make it good or bad, but if, the consensus is based on, the majority of an audience, if there is something about said product or an opinion about art, yes, of course, it becomes something to where it may be true, but I still think it's opinion based. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is I never want to cause a movie or cause someone to not watch one, because today I feel like, again, with social media, we live in a world where that information can spread like wildfire. And back in the day, word of mouth certainly got around pretty quick about movies, and it could help or hinder the movie's success. But nowadays, I feel like it's lightning fast, and even some movies that may not appeal to everyone aren't given a chance to find their audience, because within the first few days, everyone is already giving their opinion about it, or especially influencers who get access to previews early, and they're already starting to give their opinions, even if they're spoiler free. They're starting to do like a thumbs up, thumbs down. So anyway, I'm certainly an honest reviewer and huge movie, pop culture fan, always have been. But I still, like I say, it's my opinion. By all means, check it out for yourself. So talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, I'll try to keep it, be mild spoilers, sort of generic plot, and nothing that you probably already haven't heard. I'm more going to talk about what comes next, because it is such a success and it's still going. And I'm curious about, what does this mean for Marvel? And is it Spider-Man that brought the audiences out, and it really has nothing to do with Marvel, and it won't help them? Because like I said before the break, I think Spider-Man is a uniquely universal hero, comic hero or hero in general, that so many, I think he appeals to so many across the board. And yeah, so it goes without saying, if you haven't heard, it's become a massive box office event at a time when I think the wider MCU, the Marvel Universe, has been struggling to generate that level of enthusiasm. And again, I'm going to nerd out a bit, but even if you're a general movie lover, I'm sure everyone is well aware of the huge 10-year run that Marvel had, building up the movies and characters, leading up to Endgame, building up Iron Man and Thor, and incorporating Spider-Man, Captain America. All these characters took time to develop, and I still think they're trying to capture that magic again, but they're trying to just do it too quickly and trying to use a template to say, well, this worked, we'll just do this and plug these numbers in and that'll work. It's not working. It takes time. But it's interesting that based on Spider-Man, even Spider-Man, through the years, whether the movies did well or not, I think they've always brought the audience. And I think that's the interesting thing. So Spider-Man, look, he's already operating as his own name brand and always has been. And currently the film is technically part of the MCU, but, the financial success predominantly benefits Sony. So again, if you're a super nerd or not, Sony still owns majority rights for Spider-Man. Now Sony could have bought all the Marvel characters, and look, I think, sometimes in hindsight, is 2020. I don't think they realized or understood that the other characters, Iron Man and Captain America, Black Widow, and you go sort of down the line, Doctor Strange. Again, we all know these now because there was a time, like I say, that 10-year run, Marvel really spent the time to cultivate these characters. I'm not saying they were unknown, but let's be honest. You say Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, these are just known, period. Whether you're into comics or not, for whatever reason, in any country in the world, I think you say those characters and they're known. So Sony didn't recognize that Iron Man, yeah, I guess but he's not Superman, he's not Spider-Man. And so yes, Marvel did the work, and it was a success. But Sony has retained Spider-Man, and under the current arrangement, Sony, I think they get roughly 75%, and Disney 25%, with the profit split on a similar basis. Disney also has the merchandising rights, but Sony gets the enormous theatrical payday, while Marvel gets the 25% of the film's profits. So again, for Sony, I think consistently sticking with Spider-Man, I'm sure they're all sitting in a boardroom happy about this, not so happy about the backlash of Sony PlayStation. I won't rant about that too much, but they're also in trouble with a lot of the fans that they're considering dropping physical games and physical media, which is happening all over. Whether it's streaming or owning DVDs, physical media is a big war with that. I have my own opinions. We'll talk about that another time. I do think owning something when you purchase it and actually having it physically at home to do with it what you want is the better thing. But yeah, Sony are getting huge backlash for possibly removing physical games and only having it something that you would purchase as part of an online, ongoing payment sort of system. Meaning also that if you didn't keep your subscription, it's possible that after a time you might lose all your games. Anyway, look, it's a huge company. I'm sure they're getting wins and losses here and there. Spider-Man, huge win. But here's the thing. Did Marvel make Spider-Man bigger, or did Spider-Man make the MCU bigger? You know what I'm saying? Because Brand New Day doesn't necessarily prove that audiences suddenly want Marvel again. And again, whether you're someone who's a super Marvel nerd or not, I'm sure you can realize that casually you can see that the last few years, have been a bit of a disaster for Marvel and Disney. Again, there are plenty of influencers who are paid to say, "Oh, it was fantastic. This movie was great, best ever." But unfortunately, I'm not saying it's all about profit, but unfortunately, butts in seats and ticket sales do reflect on if people showed up. And they're not showing up lately, but they showed up to Spider-Man. So there's a huge movie coming out, Avengers Doomsday. They've been hyping this. I've done a podcast about this, and I think in general, unfortunately, I'm getting the vibe that all they've done is just dropped in all of our favorite characters as much as they can. They've crammed them in the movie so much that it's really just going to be a huge cameo fest. And again, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but the plot leaks also sound pretty average. And I don't even think Spider-Man will help Doomsday. So in general, I think people are they're not sick of superheroes, but they may be actually sick of uninspired superhero movies. Like I say, we joke about superhero fatigue, but I think Brand New Day shows that the audience will still turn up in huge numbers when they know the character, they care about the character, and that's easy to do with Spider-Man, understand the story, and they feel there's something, emotionally meaningful happening, rather than, again, just trying to template a movie and say, well, this worked before, we'll just keep pushing this same thing. And look, that's certainly good news for Avengers Doomsday, but, and that the audience isn't gone, but Spider-Man, has sort of an amazing, enormous advantage over Doomsday is that Spider-Man has 60 plus years of cultural history, multiple generations of fans. And yeah, I'll be honest, when it did kick off the movies, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, I think people collectively like them all. And I'll have my opinion in a bit about sort of where I sit as far as what I feel is my perfect Spider-Man. And the MCU, the Spider-Verse, villains everyone knows, enormous merchandising. Again, Spider-Man is right up there with Batman and Superman. I think you just see that symbol and everyone knows. And that is something that the MCU, like I said, as you drill down into some of the characters, like they did promote. It took a long time, and some of them were hit and miss. They still can't stand on their own like Spider-Man. And so will the Spider-Man audience follow Marvel into Doomsday? Or will they just show up for Spider-Man and that was it? I don't know. I'm sorry to say, I think they'll always show up for Spider-Man, even the casual moviegoer. Whereas the casual moviegoer won't give a crap about Avengers Doomsday. Sorry. Spider-Man, may actually be bigger than Marvel. Look, Spider-Man existed before the MCU. And, Sony's Spider-Man universe, animated Spider-Verse films. He doesn't need the Avengers to be popular. Why does Spider-Man still work? Again, I'm just talking in general here because I think I want to see the movie a second time, and I'll probably unpack it a bit more. And again, everyone's already done a full review of Spider-Man, and I still want to do one. But I'm right now looking at, because it's moving so quickly and it's making money, what comes next. And so why does Spider-Man work? I think he's the ultimate relatable superhero. I'm going to say, so Peter Parker isn't a billionaire. Now, I love Iron Man 2, especially as portrayed by Robert Downey Jr. I think he did it so well. And the only reason why that works as he's a billionaire, because he went on the perfect hero's journey, which I've talked about this before, a lot of characters, especially the female characters. And this is not the female actor's problem. This is the writer's problem. They always bring out the girl boss, and it wasn't earned. it would be just as annoying if it were a male character who's just automatically cool. And everyone really seems to be confused by thinking all the male characters are just awesome. No, they all honestly usually completely screw up, and they learn a lesson and they get their butt kicked and they go on a journey and they earn that respect. So I'm just saying with Tony Stark, he started off a bit smug, but he got knocked down badly, and of course came back and evolved into that and earned the respect, and was a hero and selfless, going from selfish to selfless. But Peter Parker is already not selfish. You know, he isn't a god. He's not like Thor. He isn't a military super soldier. Again, it's not like I'm knocking Captain America or Thor. They're all awesome in their own way again because they've earned it. But yeah, Spider-Man's unique. He doesn't have a mansion. He still has bills like all of us. I'll get into that in a second. I don't know how he's paying his bills, particularly in this new movie. But yeah, he gets embarrassed. He screws up. He worries about money and work. He worries about school. He worries whether people like him. More than most characters, more than, other superhero characters. Honestly, he's always worried about how he's perceived. And therefore, he is the everyman superhero. And that's what's great about Superman. And everybody can see themselves in Spider-Man, no matter what religion, race, or gender. That's the thing. Everyone's trying to say, I can only see myself in if that everything is about me. I mean, for God's sake, people might see themselves in R2-D2 or an android or Chewbacca or an alien. I might see myself in Ellen Ripley or Sarah Connor, and these are amazing, strong female characters that I grew up with that I respect because they earned that respect. They don't need to be a man of my exact age who looks like me and everything is about me. You can relate to a character no matter what. Anyway, I've gotten into that before. But yeah, everybody can see, boys, girls, teenagers, adults, men, women, parents, they all grew up with Spider-Man. And that's something that I'm sorry to say, the MCU and all the multiverse, and I think you sometimes have to be more so into the comics to really show up to a movie. I'm sorry to say, Spider-Man has won the general audience. And no, they won't show up to a crappy movie, but I dare say, no matter how you rate the Sam Raimi movies or the current movies, the MCU, Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, I think they all showed up, and Spider-Man was always good and relatable. And yeah, Spider-Man just works. So, having said that, talking about the different Spider-Men, I think, and also the costume, I think the costume's incredibly important. You don't even have to see Peter Parker's face to project yourself onto Spider-Man. See, that's the cool thing too. Spider-Man wears a mask. Anyone, you can see yourself as Spider-Man. That's important too. You know what I'm saying? I can't necessarily see myself as Superman. Not knocking Superman, also a ginormous character. But again, Spider-Man just works. It's a good character. But I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I may be in the minority. I'm not sure. I'm still not completely sold on the Tom Holland Spider-Man. Although I will say, and I didn't say whether I like this movie or not. I did. Again, I can't quite rate it yet. I think I'm certainly not going to put it at the top. What can I say? I still like some of the old Tobey Maguire movies. I still think they nailed it a bit better. I'll talk about that in a minute. As far as him actually becoming Spider-Man and not always being the young in school Spider-Man. But this movie, not a spoiler, I think they finally touched on that. Spider-Man is growing up, and they did a better job. But Tom Holland, I think this is how they're a bit different for me. I think Tobey Maguire's films really showed Peter growing up better, still a bit better, from high school to college, and I'll talk about how does Spider-Man make his money, especially in this movie. They don't really touch on that because he still has to have a job. He doesn't get paid to be Spider-Man. Once you're out of school, guess what? It's time to pay the bills. And that's what the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he would deliver pizza. He was a photographer for the Daily Bugle, obviously not getting paid a lot, but, he had money problems. He had responsibility, trying to balance being Spider-Man with being an actual human being and going to school, as in college courses. So I think, that Peter Parker's life existed outside the superhero plot. And that's something I think the Sam Raimi movies understood extremely well. So yes, I do prefer those as the better evolution of Spider-Man. I just think, especially with Tom Holland, I'm sorry to say, I think he's still better as the ensemble. I don't know, maybe that's just how he was introduced in the Marvel universe as joining the Avengers. I'm stuck in my mind as he does need to be surrounded by Captain America and Iron Man to sort of work. Sorry to say, but he's not alone in this movie. Spider-Man and the Punisher. Why put these two together? I think it was interesting. I think that Spider-Man and the Punisher represent almost opposite approaches to crime. Spider-Man, is about compassion and responsibility. Doesn't want people hurt. First of all, Spider-Man has never wanted people hurt or killed. He always tries to talk first, tries to understand, and works alone because that's who he is. The Punisher, obviously, and again, I like the Punisher too, but it's for different reasons. You like that character. The Punisher is definitely violence, retribution. Doesn't believe criminals deserve endless chances, and doesn't particularly care about conventional superhero morality. Does Spider-Man work better alone? I think because so much of Tom Holland's journey, like I said, was being surrounded by Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and even his friend Ned and MJ. I'll talk about them in a minute because they're brought up again in this movie, and the multiverse. He's essentially been stripped of all that now, and maybe that's what Spider-Man needed, actually. So I do think he needed that. And again, people are showing up. This is just my opinion. People are showing up to see this Spider-Man without all the Avengers. So that's interesting. There's a character, again, this is not a spoiler by now. If you're a normie, you probably wouldn't know. And if you're not, then you already know. There's a character, Jean Grey, and that's sort of the loose and light tie-in to setting up the X-Men. And of course, this is something I'll get stuck into more with the actual full-on tearing it apart once I see it a second time. But in general, I agree with a lot of people out there that character was really just set up poorly, again, with a terrible or zero character arc, definitely no hero's journey, definitely didn't learn anything, remained horribly selfish at the start and at the end. Again, that's not necessarily a spoiler. I'm just giving you a general idea that the character did not come off very well. It's the movie seems to want us to forgive her because we understand her trauma. I'm pretty sure all the superheroes have extreme trauma, but much like Spider-Man, they don't go around trying to hurt people on purpose, period. Again, this might be a mild spoiler. So her motivation is she's looking for her sister. She believes the government agency called Damage Control has information on her whereabouts, that they took her. She's been psychologically damaged. She's desperate. Okay, fine. I get all that. But that doesn't give you carte blanche to hurt people or actually kill them. Again, sorry if that's a spoiler, but that's what she does in the movie, okay? Whether there's all the arguments, oh, that person lived or that person deserved it. No, it doesn't work like that. Her actions in the movie are actually still horrific, actually, okay? She tortures people. She kills people. She invades people's minds. Again, that's just part of the lore. I'm not really spoiling it, mild spoiling it. She uses innocent people as tools. Does that sound like a good thing? And again, if she did that but then learned something and somehow started to become more of a savior to the human race, that's fine. Well, that certainly didn't happen. And I will give you a specific plot moment, and you know, so Jean basically asks Peter Parker, how can you work for damage control? This is the government agency. Don't you know how evil they are? And no, Peter doesn't know because she hasn't explained it. You know, if she knows the facts, why doesn't she explain it? Because again, like I said before, the character of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, one of the most relatable and easy to talk to heroes. Literally, in the comics and the movies, he'll talk to the bad guys. He will try and help them and figure them out, let them talk. But she doesn't even try. She just goes in hard. That's ridiculous. So, you know, all she could do is simply explain, I'm looking for my sister. Then Peter would probably say something like, okay, well, let's try and figure this out together. And then you've got Spider-Man and Jean Grey, damage control, a mystery and investigation. Could have totally gone in that direction. But I guess then the rest of the movie doesn't really happen, right? The MacGuffin is she's just going to be evil and hurt people until finally at the end she finds a truth and maybe she stops being so evil. But again, that wasn't really a journey. That was just all right, I guess I'll stop killing as much. It's ridiculous. Simply because, again, that's the turning point that's ridiculous. Just telling Peter Parker, this is what I need from you. Let me tell you my tragic story. Can you help me? She doesn't. So she just goes about, like I say, controlling people's minds and hurting people. So that's ridiculous. You know, Peter Parker, you know, is the perfect person to encounter a broken person. He really is. He's the most approachable hero. He listens, he jokes, he tries to understand people. That was a bit ridiculous. Again, I think it was just the MacGuffin to move the movie along by making her not explain it. I did want to touch real quick on Spider-Man's money problem. Now, again, in the Sam Raimi movies, Spider-Man worked for the Daily Bugle, photographer. He was even delivering pizza. So he could afford a meager apartment and maybe some basic tech, a computer. I don't even think he had one, actually, in the Sam Raimi ones. I get it. It was the early 2000s. But in this one, I just think it's interesting. He is not in school. He is of beyond college age because all of his friends have graduated from college. He's got no conventional job, no Avengers salary, no Stark tech. He doesn't live in Stark Tower. He doesn't have Tony Stark as a billionaire benefactor. He has no source of income. Yet, I can't. Sorry, I'm getting picky here, but I'm allowed to. He has a super AI computer that helps him. I get it. Peter Parker's smart. And of course, he is extremely intelligent because he is creating all these web shooters and, you know, he has collaborated with Tony Stark. But still, these things don't come for free. He's got advanced Spider-Man, you know, equipment. His apartment, okay, it's a dive, but he still has to pay for it. He has to pay for electricity, internet, transportation while he's not swinging on a web. All the miscellaneous costs of being an adult. And yes, I know he's been known as a dumpster diver, but you can't just dumpster dive a full AI computer system, advanced AI computer system that he uses. That's one of the things I think, again, that Tobey Maguire movies did a bit better, showing how he can actually live as a human in the world rather than just living in a tent on the street. I want to talk real quickly about Zendaya fatigue. She just seems to be everywhere, as both of them are. They are, of course, interesting. They're the new power couple of Hollywood. They're in every movie right now, The Odyssey and Dune, and he's Spider-Man. And they're trying to make Zendaya a thing, and that's getting old, shoving any actor or actress down our throats without it being a natural fruition is annoying. But I have to say, they downplayed her MJ role a bit, as in she wasn't so in your face. She wasn't as irritating, so that was a good thing. I think her role was much more restrained. She wasn't constantly driving the emotional story. But I did want to say quickly, the whole MJ and Ned thing. Again, if you haven't seen it, I can't help you. But the whole point was in the previous movies, Doctor Strange and No Way Home, Peter Parker was worried, about his identity harming the ones he loved, as this happens in a lot of superheroes. That's where they hide their identity. So Doctor Strange did a spell. The whole world forgot about him, including MJ, the girl he loves, and his best friend Ned, who is his sidekick. So in this movie, the interesting thing is they didn't undo that. I thought that would have been ridiculous, and it would have undone. It would have been a sort of a disrespect to the audience, and they didn't do that. So, Doctor Strange's spell that made everyone forget, it's stuck. It's still there. So there's no magical reset button for Peter Parker. I think that would have been lame. So I'm going to be honest. There were some good, very adult, emotional scenes with Peter Parker and MJ that were palpable and acceptable. Whereas before, again, her character was a bit irritating. So essentially, he has to live with the consequences of this spell. So if he wants to get back into their life, he's going to have to rebuild that from scratch. I personally think the movie should have left them out. It was done. Maybe he can move on. There are other characters in the Spider universe, okay? There are other characters he can get involved with or just be on his own. But anyway, they're still hanging around, and mild spoiler, he is trying to get back into their lives, which is interesting and realistic because, again, their memory was wiped. There was no immediate unwipe of it. I think I wanted to talk about an interesting point about sort of how monoculture used to be, the monoculture as opposed to the sort of fragmented culture we have. Like I was talking before about music. Now we can just pick and choose. We listen to little bits of music here and there. You don't buy a whole album. The whole, age group doesn't fall for one certain group. They do and they don't. But especially with movies, for example, everyone saw Star Wars, period. That's a fact. Everyone saw Jaws, Jurassic Park. Or I can go further back in time, which I'll talk about with some money as far as how much this movie would have made in modern times, adjusted for inflation, Gone with the Wind. But now it's sort of fragmented. Oh, I don't like Marvel movies. I don't like DC. I don't like sci-fi. Now it is very fragmented. I only like anime, or I only like horror films. It's interesting. So I think that my point there is that even with all that, everyone came out for Spider-Man. Isn't that interesting? And because we don't have a monoculture now, it's all split. It's all very fragmented and niche. Yet everyone came up for Spider-Man because, again, it's on its way to 2 billion for sure. So, and again, I want to talk really quick, just give you an idea. So this is the approximate modern dollar ranking adjusted for inflation. Gone with the Wind. Again, if it were adjusted to today's money back then, and this was 1939, in today's dollars, Gone with the Wind would have made 4.6 billion. Okay? That's just to give you an idea how many people, how many numbers came out to that movie. Avatar, still number 2. I still can't believe that. Again, I liked Avatar. James Cameron, he's still going. But, and that was 2009. That would be 4.1 billion. Titanic, yes, number 3, 4 billion. Star Wars, again, for me, that was the top for a long time. But that's number 4, 3.9 billion, nothing to scoff at. And yes, number 5 would be Avengers Endgame, 3.5 billion from 2019. So again, and the Gone with the Wind one is interesting. That's a crazy one. So I looked this up. The Guinness book estimates around 202 million U.S. tickets were sold across its first 3 theatrical runs alone, in a country whose population was only around 130 million at the time. That's monoculture. That is everyone getting on board with the feeling and the emotion and the attachment and the interest in a thing. That's amazing. And that's 1939. So that's not just a successful movie. That's a cultural phenomenon. So yeah, where does Spider-Man go from here? I think Sony has every incentive for the Spider-Man, Spider-Verse villains. Sony doesn't need Spider-Man to be an Avengers character. They can do what they want with them. Spider-Man is the franchise, you know? Or Marvel uses Spider-Man as a bit of a bridge to, you know, for X-Men and the multiverse or the younger audience. But either way, Spider-Man can do what he wants. And that franchise can do what it wants. And I think Sony can write their ticket now. Spider-Man still gets the automatic response because, again, he's one of the few characters who has sort of transcended the genre. You don't have to be any sort of specific comic book fan to enjoy a Spider-Man movie. And yeah, I don't really think it's going to help Doomsday. I'm sorry to say. So yeah, it's certainly a bit of a box office phenomenon. So it's 1.6 billion. Again, it's not just about the money, but the money does talk. 1.6 billion in 10 days. 654 at the moment of talking now. 654 million domestic. Shattered records with 360 million opening weekend. And Avengers Endgame was 2.8 billion all up, and 1.2 billion on opening. So it's already beat that. So yeah, what can I say? The audience has shown up. I did too. I'm going to see it again. I recommend you see it, whether you're a fan or not. It is very much worth seeing. But as I said, where does my allegiance lie? I still feel like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and Sam Raimi. I don't know. I think they really developed the character better from teenager to adult. And a shout out to Andrew Garfield, because I think those had some great moments too. And when the multiverse Spider-Man movie, when they were all on the screen, it's funny that if you look it up on the YouTube clips, that Andrew Garfield still got the most excited response. Isn't that funny? I don't know if it was mostly from girls, probably, but only because, look, he's got a bit of a cheeky attitude. Tobey Maguire can be very Tobey Maguire at times, but Andrew Garfield, he's cool. I think he brought a good spin on it, and yeah, but you can't deny that Spider-Man is doing well, and alive and well for many years to come. So yeah, that's my where is Spider-Man going, and what comes next. I think what comes next is anything Spider-Man or Sony want to do. And MCU, I still think they need to have a good think about how to best use this, because again, it may not translate to Avengers Doomsday. All right, that's my thoughts about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Stay tuned for more great music on our Radio Emotions 90s Rocks after a great, awesome word from our sponsor. Be right back.